the National Alliance to Youth Development and Sweeper. And I'm really glad that, Professor Vijay Kumar offered to take, some of you there, because I have been in one of those camps. I've been there for 2 weeks, and it was a life-changing experience. I've stayed there, and as youth in Goa vote, how the youth in Kashmir respond to a situation, how the youth in Kerala respond to a situation, how the youth in Karnataka respond to a particular situation. So the youth is not a homogeneous group. Let's understand that. Youth, like every other citizen, comes from diverse backgrounds, economic, social, political, geographical, linguistic. So that clarity should be there, that youth, though yes, they are all one, they are all in the same age group, but they come from diverse backgrounds. This is very important to understand. The second component is media. Now, what is media? Media, is it just the news media? Let us not forget that the news media is different from the entertainment media. They are all media. Even cinema is media. In fact, cinema is the most powerful tool of mass communication. So, media encompasses the print, the electronic, and that includes both news media and the entertainment media, cinema, and digital. Now, please remember that when we talk about media today, in the last few years, I would say over the last 1 decade, we have seen phenomenal changes happening so far as media is concerned. We all grew up on a staple diet of newspapers and magazines. But even forget law students or other students, there may be exceptions, honorable exceptions. Even media students don't read newspapers. And this has been, I've headed the most prestigious media institutions, from Doordarshan to Indian Institute of Mass Communication to now the Makhanlal National University. And I'm sorry to say this, they do read, they do access news and information, but newspaper is certainly not the mode. So, what is the media consumption of the youth? Now, youth, as I said, is different in the rural area, in the urban area, but one thing that unites them, and that's across the spectrum, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Guwahati to Gujarat, and that is that they are all hooked on to the digital media. Whether it is the rural students or the urban students, they are all hooked on to the digital media in a big way. And social media. So, I'm sure that most of you are on Facebook, Insta, Twitter. Now, there are a couple of elements which we need to understand. Digital media is different from the traditional media, the print electronic. Now, what is the fundamental difference? The fundamental difference is that there are strong editorial processes when it comes to the traditional media, the print and the electronic. That means that there is a very strong editorial system. So when a reporter reports something, it goes through the editorial where the facts are checked, cross-checked, verified, cross-verified, and only then put out. There is the Registrar of Newspapers of India, wherein an editor is specifically responsible under the Press and Registration of Books Act, PRB Act. He has to be, for the content that is generated, so he can be hauled up by the law. Under the different sections of IPC and CRPC, including defamation, libel, slander. He or she can be hauled up. So they are bound by a lot of laws. Apart from the fact that there is a constitutional body called the Press Council of India, we do often say that, it's a toothless tiger, but tiger is a tiger, right? So we need to give more tooth to it, no doubt about it. But the fact is that there is an ombudsman, somebody to whom you can approach and tell them, look, somebody is creating a problem. But that's not the case with the print media. Electronic also, you have a very strong system of, and electronic media has evolved in the country in the last couple of decades. It has evolved over the years. Remember the 26/11 attacks when the reporters were crawling, and trying to show the terror attack, and it indirectly helped the terrorist handlers across the border, because the encounter was being shown live, how the commandos were slithering down the ropes and entering each floor. It was being shown live, and this was being seen and being monitored by the handlers across the border. And they were accordingly instructing the Fidain who were inside that, look, now the commandos are coming from. So you have cases of, very, very brave commandos like Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan, who laid down his life. That's only because every movement of the commandos were being seen and was being reported. So, and from across the border, instructions were being given. Now the media has matured after that. You had the Twin Tower attacks in the United States, 9/11, where you saw that, the media, Western media, did not utter a single, even today we do not know exactly how many people died. We do not know. No bodies were shown, no body parts were shown, no blood was shown, nothing was shown. No grieving relatives were shown the way we used to sensationalize. So, I remember the bomb blast that used to happen in Delhi and other parts. For the younger generation, this may be, something very new, but we have all gone through that phase where the first thing we would do in a public transport bus was to look below our seat to check whether there is a bomb or there is an IED, an improvised explosive device, or a transistor bomb which is there. So this became our habit. When we sit in a public transport bus, we will just see whether there is an explosive beneath you. Now this was the kind of, it brought about a lot of honesty also in the society. Nobody would touch, even if you leave a suitcase full of, cash on the street, it would be there only. Only the bomb disposal squad will come. Nobody will touch it. So this was the kind of, terror which they were able to, and that is the objective of the terrorists. The objective of the terrorists is not just to kill a couple of people, but to create that terror in the society. So now, but media unknowingly, unconsciously aided and abetted that without realizing that by showing all this blood and the grieving relatives and all that, you are only aiding and abetting the intent of the mischief maker. So electronic media has evolved. Now you don't see live encounters. Now you are deferred live. Whether it is in Kashmir or in Chhattisgarh or anywhere. Third, the digital media, which is what most of the youngsters are accessing. Absolutely no control. Any attempt is immediately projected as an onslaught on the right to freedom of speech and expression. Now this is something where we need to very clearly, and that is where this constitution will come really handy in telling these youngsters that it is right to freedom of speech and expression. It's freedom, not license. This is very important to understand. There is a very fine difference between freedom and license. Freedom comes with Article 19(1)(a) and 19(1). So you would see that there are reasonable restrictions to that right. You cannot have unhindered freedom. So this is something that you need to understand. The media, now what has happened is that the biggest change that has happened in media is that now you have more of user-generated content. So it's no more the producer of the newspaper or the producer of the television who is putting out stuff. It is the user, you and me, the common citizen, who is putting out this stuff. So now, please remember, they are not trained. Unfortunately, we also started aping a concept called citizen journalism. I'm all for citizens contributing to the discourse, but I have a problem with the term citizen journalism. The problem is that you cannot have a citizen doctor. Do you have a citizen doctor? No. You have a citizen engineer? No, you don't have a citizen engineer. You don't have a citizen architect. You don't have a citizen chartered accountant. So how can there be a citizen journalist? Now, if a citizen can just be a journalist, then I think that it's high time that we shut down Makhanlal, IIMC. All these institutions should be shut down. Because anyone and everybody can be a journalist. But that's what is happening. In Delhi, they say कि जो इस्त्री करता है press, वो भी अपने गाड़ी में press लगाता है. So because press has become something like a license. If you put the sticker press, you can jump red lights, you can violate traffic laws, you can do all that. Now, citizen journalism, instead it should be citizen communicators. They are citizen communicators, citizens who communicate, not citizen journalists. Now these so-called journalists who have YouTube channels, who have Insta accounts and all that, they don't believe in any editorial process. They are putting out things based on rumors, based on hearsay, based on speculation. They will put out everything. And there is no regulatory framework as such as of now. There are cyber laws, which I'm sure our friend would be, Srivastav Saab would be, talking about, but there are no regulatory frameworks as in the case of the radio and television, and print media. Now, obviously, if you go and complain, certainly there may be an action under the existing laws, but there is nothing to stop people. You want to start a newspaper, you have to apply for Registrar of Newspapers of India. But if you want to start a YouTube channel, you don't have to go anywhere. You can start right away. Now you need to understand this. Now comes the last element, and that's nation building. Because these are topics on which I can speak for hours. But there is a restriction of time. So now nation building. How do we connect all these three? What is nation building? Is nation building just shouting some slogans? No. Is nation building about celebrating our Republic Day, our Independence Day, or celebrating our victory in cricket matches? Well, no. I think that for a nation building, you don't have to go to the borders and fight the elections. I think the nation building for me is to realize that this very Constitution of India, we all have been having over the last 75 years, because we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Ours have been a rights oriented narrative. The entire thing is that my right, this is my right, this is my right, I need to get this, I need to get this. Absolutely, the fundamental rights are there, you have the constitutional rights, you have the human rights, you have blah blah blah, animal rights, this right, that right, child rights, all kinds of rights are there, but what about duties? Duties also find a mention in the Constitution of India. Only difference is that rights are enforceable, duties are not. Now this is something that should come from within. For me, nation building is that if I have been assigned a responsibility, then to make the best of that responsibility, to take my university to the next level. For me, that's my nation building, my contribution to nation building. For a police officer, his contribution is to ensure that justice is provided to the needy and the culprits, the criminals are brought to book and the citizens feel safe. Similar in the case of a teacher, similar in the case of a student. I think that the best nation building activity for you is to be the best student. Let's be the best in whichever field we are contributing to. And secondly, I think that empathy for the fellow citizen, that's important. Today's youth, I frankly believe that they have immense potential and a lot of opportunities which we did not have. Today technology has allowed you, enabled you to dabble in so many things. The kind of access that you have, nobody else has. I often say that you say that when you look at history, you say that it has divided into BC and AD, before Christ and Anno Domini. I think that today it's, I would say that we need to divide it into BG and AG, before Google and after Google. We belong to the BG, before Google generation, and you all belong to the after Google generation. Now this is a fundamental difference, that today information is available at the click of a mouse, at the touch of a button on your mobile phone. So this much of information is available. There is an information overload and it's called infodemic. There's an overdose of information. How do you deal with this information is something very important. How do you recognize this information is very important. What is right, what is wrong, what is correct, what is incorrect. Please remember that there is a huge population of youth who are not aware of the intricacies or the dynamics of the social media. And that's what I'm going to talk about for the next 5 minutes. The intricacies. I remember a young man who was employed with me, and he one day told me, he was my driver, he told me one day कि साहब आपने इंद्र का घोड़ा देखा है? Have you seen Indra's horse? So I said that, but for a second I was taken back. I said that, I thought that Indra used to travel by a white elephant. Has he come down to a horse? Economic recession, maybe. So, yes, साहब इंद्र का घोड़ा है. I said, okay. कहाँ देखा तुमने? He said कि मेरे मोबाइल में है. I said कि दिखाओ. And he showed it to me. So, in the midst of clouds, you could actually see an animation which has used thunderbolt and given it the shape of a horse. And the horse seems to be galloping in the clouds. So, and from a naked eye, if you look at it, you would actually feel that there is a, thunderbolt which is in the shape of a horse and it's actually galloping through the clouds. Now for somebody like me who is into animation, who is into VFX, the visual effects, we can understand what it is. For lakhs like him, that is the reality. We use terms today like virtual reality, augmented reality. But for him, that is reality. When it comes to the Ghora, it is fine. But when it is something which is very, which incites you to violence, there are more doctored audios, manipulated videos, then there is a problem. And then you see events happening where people are killed, riots, migration. From Bangalore, you had an instance where thousands of students from Northeast had to migrate because of some pictures from Myanmar which were shown as pictures from India. You have pictures from Afghanistan which are being shown as pictures from Kashmir. How does the youth relate to it? How do they relate to it? And how do they recognize? That is why there is a need for a national media literacy campaign, where this has to be an integral part right from the school curriculum. Because post-COVID, you have seen the exposure of the students right from 5-year-old to 95-year-old. They are all accessing. We used to ban, we never allowed our children to use the mobile phone, and today we are encouraging them to use the mobile phone. We are encouraging them to use the smartphone. That's a big change post-COVID. And please remember, they are not just getting their classes online. They are getting a lot of other stuff also. They are being cyberbullied. There is cyber pornography. There is a huge dark net out there. And a lot of criminals are crawling all around. There are recruiters of IS who are there. There are recruiters of seditious and terrorist organizations who are there. All kinds of people are there out there who are trying to poach in and capture the youth. They are selling drugs. You remember the recent incident in Mumbai film world, which shook the Mumbai film world. Everything was being done through all transactions were through the net. A lot of stuff is happening, and a lot of our youth are getting misled. So it's important that the youth utilize the power of media, harness the power of media for nation building. And for that, what is important is awareness. Awareness is the key. Can we create awareness about these issues in the society? Can we tell them, look, what you see is not necessarily true. That there's a lot of technology behind it. What you are seeing. This needs to be conveyed to this younger generation. And as they say, charity begins at home. You and I need to first see whether whatever I am sharing, liking, tweeting, retweeting, is it based on facts? So many senior journalists have made big mistakes. One senior journalist in Delhi fell for a job from Harvard University and resigned from her job. Now she's back. I see her back on television. She was a student of Indian Institute of Mass Communication. She fell for it. If this can happen to senior journalists, imagine the plight of the common man. He can just get carried away by any stuff on the social media. So it's very important that we identify, we realize there are a lot of technologies. And I would urge, I'm sure it must have already happened, but I would urge the Honorable Vice Chancellor that please conduct, how to identify fake content, fake news. We need to have a workshop, and Makhanlal would be delighted to organize this at the university for you, so that you can take it forward. I'm sure most of you, and there are a lot of technologies, techniques like reverse image search and all that, which help you to identify fake content. Now, last point, I also believe that, so it is important, awareness is the key. I know that your age is such that everybody would love to put a selfie, even, why your age, even, we would love to see, everybody loves his own voice, everybody loves his own name, her own photos, it's all very common. But can you please remember, one news item in a newspaper or an article in a newspaper may not be read by even 500 people. But one single Facebook post is read by 5,000 people. A single tweet is read by thousands of people. That is the power of social media today. And you can be the catalyst. You can bring about that change by utilizing, harnessing the power of the social media for change, for bringing about that big change. It can be, while talking about issues, about social issues, please talk about them. Do talk about yourself, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your parties, and all that. But alongside that, also utilize that space to promote awareness in the society, to unmask fake content, fake news, and to raise awareness among the larger population on critical issues, because you are among the intellectuals of the society. You are the future leaders of the society. And you can utilize this power of the media to change. And please remember, today both print and electronic is following the hashtag trend of social media. The agenda setting is now being done by the social media. No more leaders are talking and holding press conferences. They are tweeting and they are talking directly to the people. So it's very important that you also utilize that power of the social media for nation building. I just want to conclude by saying I could have given a lot of inspirational speech about nation building and all that, but I chose to discuss some practical aspects which you can do rather than indulge in rhetoric. We all love our country. We all want to contribute our might to the country, but let us do it through the means that we have at our disposal. Whether it is our university, whether it's our library, whether it is our social media accounts, whether it is in our neighborhood, by following the principles of each one, teach one, can we help a poor student who is on the streets? Can we help them? I think that would be our contribution. We all need not go and take up arms to fight for our brave soldiers are good enough to take care of our adversaries. Let us bring about perfection in the job that we do. That pursuance of perfection, that passion for perfection, that would be your biggest contribution to nation building. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Excellent.
So thank you so much for this address. This has given me a lot of points to take home, like difference between freedom and license to speech, and difference between trained and untrained journalism, rights and duties, narratives, infodemic, and whatnot. Thank you so much, sir. On the lighter note, I would agree that yes, we struggle with untrained journalism, citizen journalism, and I can relate to it because I am a psychologist and you can find counselors everywhere, panwadis and press yes, of course. Thank you, sir. And I would also like to thank you for offering the future collaboration between NLIU and Mahatma University. Moving forward, I would like to invite our esteemed speaker,